Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's February 3rd, 2026. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event is being recorded. Excuse me. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. For everybody who's on Zoom, feel free to put in your contact information. Let us know who you are, what position you're looking for. Give us 2 or 3 target companies we may be able to help you with. Give us your email, your LinkedIn address, any other data you'd like to provide, that'd be great. And connect with everybody else who's on the call, because you never know who else can help you or who else you can help if you see somebody else's information. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the Pit Crew. For more information, just go to dallaspitcrew.com. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn on a monthly basis. Today, our speaker is Locke Alderson. He's a career consultant. He's been hiring people for many, many years, and he's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies that gets results. So Locke, thank you for being with us today, and it's all yours.
Jeff, thanks for the nice introduction. People ask me sometimes why you do this, and as I say, if you look at my profile that's there, or my bio that's right there on the screen, well, it isn't on the screen. It's a different one, okay? So I'll start the screen. I guess I should do that, Jeff. Is that up?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, share screen, allow. Is it up now?
There you go.
Well, we'll try and, no, that's not the right one.
Well, that's the live LinkedIn version. Yeah, not the.
Well, if I can't get that, Jeff, I had it all set up and it worked, and okay. From the beginning, I think we're up now. There's my bio up there. People have asked me why I do this. And Jeff, and as he'll tell you at the end, we're all volunteers. But in the 5 times that I've been laid off, or one I had fired, one I was fired in there, those can be some emotional times, some emotional roller coasters. And I know that one of the things that I did during those times was turn to the Lord. My faith is strong, and I've turned to Him for help in my search for a job. At least one of those times I was out of work, full-time work, for about 18 months. So it is a reality that a lot of us do face. So one of the verses that comes to mind from Scripture, and I do turn to Scripture on a daily basis, is blessed be the Lord day after day. He bears our burdens. And one of the things that somebody had mentioned to me is job hunting is like any other relationship, and we have a number of relationships in our lives. And part of that relationship is being found. And part of that being found or showing up on LinkedIn is being out there and having your profile out there, and then opening up what have you done and how well you have done it is the other part. And we're going to talk about both of those aspects today. Okay. Again, one of the questions I'll ask everybody on the call, and I think the last time I looked, there are about 16 of us. It's probably gone up since then as people come on. Well, why are you using LinkedIn? Well, LinkedIn is probably one of the most important aspects of, I've got to go back. I'm going to have to hook something up real quick, Jeff. Apologize for that, the technological difficulties. And Jeff will tell you I'm a technological nerd. I'm not very good at it. One of the things that we do is, why do you use LinkedIn? It's a question that you need to ask yourself and be aware of using LinkedIn, because it is a tool that's used by most recruiters. It's probably the most important tool that recruiters use. You might ask about that. Well, there are about 1,200,000,000 people on LinkedIn worldwide. About 200 million of those are in the United States. So you can see it's a tool for actually networking, and that's how it got started. Sales and marketing people got together and said, okay, we need to exchange information and leads on that. And one of our people that does one of the LinkedIn presentations, Terry Sullivan, doesn't know how to use it basically for marketing and sales and networking. So that's his background. But one of the reasons that LinkedIn is so important is it is a tool that allows you to display who you are in your job search, okay? And the ability to show employers exactly the experience and skills that you have on your profile, which ultimately leads to interviews into a job. So what are we going to cover today? Basically, we're going to cover two aspects today, and I'll try and cover some of those. Your job, your profile itself, your headline and open to work, why are those important? Your dashboard, which some of you may not be aware of, and your about sections, and your professional work history and your skills and endorsements. And then how do you optimize your profile? It's one of the things that you want to try and do. And then taking a look and doing searches. How do recruiters actually search and find people? And then helping you to search for jobs. And then some homework for each of you. So that's kind of our agenda today. So the question that I have next is, what does your LinkedIn profile, does it attract hiring managers and recruiters' attention? Again, if it's not, if you're not getting those clicks and calls and emails, you may want to think about some of the things that we talk about today and trying some of those things out. Because first impressions, and that's what people see on LinkedIn, are as important as they are during the interview process when you meet people. It all starts with your profile, and you can see my profile there. That's an older version of mine, and we've done some things to tweak it. But again, if your headline, as you see it on there, and that headline is there, those characters below my name, and right now you're allowed to have up to 220 characters. This one is about 140 characters. There's your headline. If your headline is the only thing somebody sees about you, what does it say about you? Does it address what the recruiter really cares about and is looking for? So those are the things that you need to talk about with your LinkedIn profile. And again, we'll talk about that as well. Now, are you reaching out and addressing your target marketplace? That's what the headline is all about. I've got the open to work section open on my computer here on this screen. I don't always have it open. So one of the things we want to talk about your profile, if you've got one up there, how long has it been since you've refreshed it? Okay, how long has it been since you've updated your profile? You don't want it to look like an old rusty car because of neglect. Somebody who gave a LinkedIn presentation that I attended about a year ago talked about a freshness date on your resume. Well, think about when you go to the grocery store about freshness dates. If you get milk and there's a best used by date, I know my wife has to smell the milk now because I can't smell anymore after some surgery that removed a tumor from my brain. But I actually just smelled as it smelled fresh. That's one of the things that you look at. So if it isn't fresh, again, people are not going to pay as much attention to it. So there's some things that you could do to refresh your resume. And it's something that you should be doing with your profile at least once a week. Well, let's take a look at my profile here. You have 6 to 10 seconds to get my attention. So what do you see? You can see the banner shot behind me. That's a picture from one of my cruises my wife and I went on through the Caribbean and Southern Caribbean down to Curacao. I've got open to work open. I've got a good headshot that my wife took of me. Again, the headshot that you have on there can be a selfie if you want, or it could be a professional headshot. But again, if it's a selfie, one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you've got a clean background. There's no glares. I wear glasses normally. If you look at me a picture on the screen, I've taken them off for this headshot that's there. Again, this headshot, I mean, the about section there, some other things that are there on that. Right down. Notice some other things right there. They've used a pipe character between characters. You want to do that. That's a shift key above a shift character above your enter key. Okay, and when you do that, you want to leave a space on either side, because if those are linked together, those are not a searchable term on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is a powerful platform for job searching, networking, and career management. Creating a strong profile will boost your career and help you to land your dream job. All of those things are kind of true. So what do you do? One of the things that I discovered an old slide going back through some presentations on LinkedIn for, I guess about 5 years ago. LinkedIn used to have a pie chart like that that shows how strong your profile is. They've done away with that. But basically what you want to do to have a completed profile, attain all-star radius, is to have an industry and location. You want to have your current position, have a current position. Even if you're unemployed, yes, you want to have a current position. That position is that you're looking for a job, and at least 2 prior positions. Talk about your education and your skills, and also some connections, and a profile picture. The profile picture is kind of important. So these are the things that you want to do. I mentioned a professional headshot. Doesn't have to be by a professional photographer. You can do a selfie, but make sure it's a good picture. And your background or banner photo, you can do that. I just do that on LinkedIn. You can include a photo if you want, or you can use something like Canva to come up with some text and a background there. The headline, use the job title of the position or positions that you're applying for. If you don't, LinkedIn will be so gracious, they'll choose one for you, and that's the title of your last position in your about section, in your employment section. Do use the open to work under your headline to list additional job titles. One of the things I talked to somebody yesterday about LinkedIn on a brief consult with them, the more times that you have a title in there, the more likely it is in that section it will rise to the top. And recruiters, when they do searches, whether it's on LinkedIn or on a job board, the things that they look for are your job titles, and they look at your skills. Those are the 2 primary things that they look at. And we'll take a look at that when we look at some searches a little bit later. But your open to work allows you to list additional 5 titles. Your about section is really an overview of your career and should highlight your accomplishments and keywords from your profession. You have about 2,000 characters there. One of the candidates I worked with yesterday had about 100 characters in their about section. They're shortchanging themselves. Your contact information, if you haven't opened up your security settings so that everybody can see your phone number and your email address, you want to have your email and phone number on the first line of your about section. The experience section, use the job titles that are normally used in industry. If you have an unusual title, and I've worked for companies that use titles like Member of Technical Staff 3, that really doesn't explain a lot to people who don't work at that company. Use the title of the job that you're looking for. If that's put the actual title in parentheses, if you will, and the description of your duties and some of the results. Use keywords again, the skills from your profession and endorsements, your education awards and professional development. One of the things I mentioned to that candidate yesterday I was working with, what are some of the awards and certifications they might have achieved in their career that they don't have on their profile, and the recommendations for coworkers. You want to get some of those, preferably at least a couple from your most recent jobs. Again, another verse of scripture that I love, and for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. That's from Jeremiah 29:11. Okay. I mentioned also, if your headline is the only thing somebody sees about you, then what does it say about you? Does it tell who you really are? Does it identify what you do, what you've accomplished? Is your headline a grabber? Again, there used to be, in ladies' magazines, there used to be a scratch and sniff card, and they were trying to get you to scratch and sniff a new perfume, thinking that if you scratch and sniff the perfume and like the smell, you can go to the department store perfume counter and perhaps buy it. Okay. Well, LinkedIn is also about activity and your activity and content. High scores, go to the recruiter, move to the top of a list when a search is actually done. And each section on your profile has a value, and the more value for that section, all those values add up in that section. So you want to do that. But let's take a look at a headline here. This is an old headline for me. Once you can do that URL at the bottom, headline, strength, headlines sharethrough.com. You could click on that. When I first did this again and tested mine out, again, that headline, my overall rating was a 55, 65 for engagement and 55 for impressions. So it wasn't too impressive. I made some changes that appear below, and you can notice that it's a little bit tighter picture there. But my overall score jumped from 55 to 78. My engagement only went up from 65 to 72, and the impression went from 55 to 76. So it can make a difference when you do some things with your headline and play around with it. That's one of those changes that you can make. The other thing that you'll notice on that is that here are some sample headlines that you can use. All of these are ones that I've seen on profiles over the years. Unemployed, retired, and seeking new opportunity. All of those statements are true, but they have negative connotations of somebody who's out of work. Formerly VP of Finance, the same thing. Okay, how long has it been since they were VP of Finance? Can people, I won't say people lie, they just don't tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Experienced digital design engineer seeking a new opportunity is more descriptive. It says that it gives the recruiter an idea of what they do. They're not just a design engineer or not just an engineer. They've worked with digital design and looking for new opportunities. Social media, again, somebody like that who's been in public relations or corporate communications. Social media, they know what that's all about. What is LinkedIn? What is Facebook? And what are some of the other ones? Pinterest, some of the other ones that are used. Content manager seeking new opportunity. Print and digital talks about media, different media that the people have used. PR is an acronym for public relations, and they've done marketing and corporate communications. Supply chain, procurement, and purchasing. The candidate I worked with yesterday, one of the two candidates I worked with yesterday, that's his background. Again, those are things that you can have, but pretty succinct and concise statement. Again, if somebody's interested in that, they might click through and take a look at the next stage. Senior accountant, again, if you do a search in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for accountants, you're probably going to get about 40,000 people with that in their profile. So adding additional things like general ledger, again, another acronym, or AP or AR, financial reporting and cost, are things that are going to amplify who you are and more likely get a see-through or look-through. IT project manager is, again, another pretty succinct headline, but ITIL, Scrum Master, and Agile are all buzzwords for IT recruiters. General manager, manufacturing, aerospace, again, pretty succinct, but narrow. Again, there aren't too many manufacturers, people with general manager experience in manufacturing and aerospace. This is a chart that somebody gave to me about how you can modify your headlines using adjectives and titles and what you bring, some of the things that you bring to it, and some examples. A dynamic program manager is more expressive than simply saying program manager. So here are some amplified, more descriptive headlines. Again, senior accountant, increasing productivity in highly regulated industries. That meant that they work for public utilities or possibly telecommunications, somebody that has regulations that have to go through some regulatory agency. Product manager, specializing in international business aerospace. Again, pretty descriptive, but narrows it down to the people that are there. So you can see all of those. And people that want this slide deck, because I'm talking pretty fast, if you'll just send me an email at Locke Alderson, all one word, at gmail.com, I'll be happy to send you the whole slide deck. Okay. Here's some more headlines. Systems analyst healthcare, again, spells out the industry the individuals worked in. Digital indices to reduce hospital admissions by 50%. If you've ever gone to the hospital and filled out all the paperwork, if they can cut that down almost in half, again, it's going to speed things up, make things more efficient. So those are just some other titles that you can see where are available. Another verse of scripture that I like. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives it to you, do I give it. Let your hearts not be troubled, neither do I. Neither let them be afraid, from John's Gospel in the New Testament. Okay. Why do you use open to work? I talked to a guy yesterday. He said, well, I don't use it because I don't want to. Well, again, unless you're in a stealth mode where you don't want your employer to know that you're looking, I would strongly advise using open to work. And it allows you, yes, it does put that horse collar banner from about 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock that you're open to work. And you can use the settings to open it up to recruiters who have purchased the Recruiter or Recruiter Lite software license from Microsoft. Or you can open up to the general population. I said, within the United States, there are 200 million people on LinkedIn. So it spreads it out to the whole world. It also spreads it out to your own network. Again, I've got that open to work banner down there at the bottom. But what that open to work banner allows you to do is to list 5 additional titles. You notice that I've got a couple checked. As I start to type in career, it gives me a number of options there from drop-down menu, a little bit of artificial intelligence. Workplaces, again, on-site, hybrid, or remote. I've got a friend who wants to work remote as a recruiter. I talked to him about 2 weeks ago. I also can list locations. So if you're open to location, this is one of the places that you can add it. And where are you in your search? Are you immediately and actively looking, or are you just kicking tires? Have you used your analytics on your homepage? Your analytics will tell you how active people are. The post impressions, how long or how many. If you've done a post on LinkedIn, how many impressions have you had in the last week? How many times has your profile been looked at in the last 90 days? How many followers you have, and how many times have you appeared in a search appearance? Okay, so those are some of the things that are available to you. And if you click on some of those, the search appearances will tell you who's searched for you, what some of the companies are. It may not tell you the names unless you've got the added program that you had on LinkedIn. You can pay for the premium service. Your featured section is another area of your profile. I know my son is redoing his LinkedIn profile, and he's got a couple of reels on there. A reel is just something of all of the digital and motion graphics that he's created. I've got presentations that I've done on there. You can have your resume on there. One of the problems about putting your resume on there is it's cast in concrete. You probably need to refresh that. If that's one of those things that you do, refresh it periodically to have a more current resume. Or if you're searching in a specific area or for a specific industry, you have a resume that's targeted toward those industries. Okay, that's what you can do with your about section. Let's talk about your summary. Your summary or your about section used to be called the summary. This is a particularly long one, but I like it because it's very descriptive. Normally on the about section, I typically recommend 3 to 5 lines and then break it up with possibly some bullets or some specialties. But again, this one has used normal text and bold. It's also listed out some specialties. Financial planning and analysis also listed as an acronym. Financial recruiting and accounting type recruiters will know what FP&A is, but some people may not. If you use an acronym like AMA, it may be the American Marketing Association, American Medical Association, it could be even the American Motorcycle Association. The older, bigger Webster's dictionaries used to have a list of those acronyms in the back. It's fun sometimes to take a look at them. Okay. So that's what you want to do with that. Some other headlines that you can do. LinkedIn has gotten a little bit more liberal, if you will, and allows you to use the first person, whereas on resumes, they still recommend that you use third person. The first example is from somebody who worked for Disney World. Notice how they've got grateful to my partner with award-winning companies. Kind of descriptive and flowery, but again, gives some key competencies. They've worked in the executive coaching and training, talent development, and they've had some relevant experience with different industries. Okay, example 2. I'm a strategic, creative, hands-on marketeer with a passion for opportunity, passion for the opportunity technology creates for business. Again, fairly flowery and descriptive. Hopefully they go on to give some examples of how it is, how they do have a passion for that. Moving on to your experience section. This is actually a snapshot from my profile. But again, you want to have your job title, the company names and dates. If the company is not well known, it's a good idea to also add a brief one-line description of what the company does. At one point in my career, when I came back to Texas in '76, I worked for a company called Mostec. They went out of business in 1983 when they merged with another company. But at the time, they were the world's leading producer of random access memories for computers. And something that you want to talk about. This is Oracle. When I did that with Oracle, it picked up the Oracle logo and put it with that. It will do that if the company is well known and there is an identifiable logo that they can use. And notice the description there. I've limited my description of my duties to about 3.5 lines. You can go up to 5, let's say. I've also included something was from when I worked for Oracle, the director of recruiting for North America sent a goodbye email out to the rest of the recruiting staff in North America. And I just happened to incorporate that in my profile, okay? Because it's something that's descriptive of who I am and my capabilities. The next thing you could do on your about section, your experience section, is to add some accomplishments. While I was with Oracle, I had 2 pretty significant ones. I was twice selected as Recruiter of the Quarter from among 50 recruiters. And from that same group of recruiters, I was selected to attend the annual consulting organization, Club. And consulting was the organization that I happened to support. Worldwide, consulting had about 35,000 people that worked for Oracle Corporation because most of their people are that way. Recruiters want to know what you can do, so they will not only at your duties and responsibilities, they look at the results that you've done. So that helps when you're looking at that and people are looking at your background. One of the things I mentioned about if you're not working right now, one of the things that you want to do is to add a section, and you can add these different things to your profile. You want to add your volunteer experience, but you also want to add a position showing that you're looking for a job. You can also add projects, and we'll take a look at those. I looked at a resume yesterday, a profile yesterday, and she had her volunteer experience pulled out separately. When I wrote my profile, they didn't have these separate sections, so my volunteer experience is incorporated in the basic profile. Let's take a look at that. This just happens to be for a current position. This was for somebody who is basically a software applications developer. They're looking for a full-time opportunity, and they're looking in a specific industry, financial services. And again, the drop-down menu has the intelligence for Dallas. Again, you have to be careful because there's also a Dallas, Georgia, and a Dallas, Oregon. So we want to make the right one. And Dallas has Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, Dallas County, and Dallas proper. So again, select those things. And then you can add descriptive of what you've done. I added one for a project management, or program manager. I was program manager for a professional association to select speakers for the bi-monthly meetings that we had. So that's another way that you can add a project. I know when I was recruiting for both Oracle and for Siebel, looking for consultants, a lot of the people had background as contractors in IT. So they would typically send a resume, and it would have multiple pages in it, a page usually devoted to each project that they'd worked on, spelling out the size and scope and importance of that. The next area of your profile is a pretty vital one, is your skills area. Again, LinkedIn will allow you to add up to 100 skills now. And one of the things LinkedIn will do for you, again, it may not be what you want. If you don't select them, it will select 2 or 3 skills for you. The candidate I worked with yesterday had two candidates. Both candidates had skills. They were not the top skills that those candidates had, most marketable skills. So what you could do to reorder your skills, before I get to that, how do you find out about your skills? Again, there's a link there at the top, LinkedIn, GitHub, Career Explorer. They will allow you to find, and if you don't want to do that, you can go down here to the skip, to the head, and they have about 150 job titles, and they list the skills for those job titles. They're there, okay? For a project implementation engineer, the skills, and you can test yourself out. So with that, Jeff has put the link there on the screen. Are your skills organized for maximum impact? That's what I was talking about, the 2 people I talked to yesterday. They had not organized their skills. Let's take a look. When you look at yourself on your screen, you're going to have that, and you're going to eventually find a pencil. And when you click on the pencil, I need to update this. You can come up with those 3 dots that are there, and you want to click on those 3 dots. And when you do, it will allow you to reorder your profile. And what you do want with that is you want to put your cursor over here on the 4 lines, hold it down, and then you can drag and drop the different ones that you have to the top. Again, those are the ones that you want to do because that's what people are looking for. The top skills that you have, whether it's executive search or technical recruiting, professional services. So are they organized for the maximum benefit? That's what we want to talk about. The other thing that you want to do with yourself is you want to say, well, organizing or optimizing your profile. Why do I want to look at other people? I'm only concerned about me. Well, when you do a search for a recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I was a recruiter for 41 years, again, what you do, if you don't show up in the first 10 screens, that's 100 thumbnail sketches like this, there's 10 per page. Again, you're not going to be probably found or looked at by a recruiter. Okay, what you want to do from everybody, okay, well, that is to look at the, but when I did a recruiter, there were at that time about 26,000 people that had recruiter in their profile. Not all of them are looking for a job, but that's the potential pool that someone can look for to hire a recruiter. Okay, it's actually gone up from there. So if you don't show up, take a look at some of those, pop them open. Like this particular one, Renee Lane, she was a senior recruiter. We're looking for a recruiter. Again, she's got open to work and mentions recruiter a number of times there and in her bio section. Get some ideas from those people. If those words apply to you and they aren't in your profile, by all means, adopt them to your own profile. I want to take a look at the other side of the coin now. Look at searches on LinkedIn. How does LinkedIn actually run a search? How do recruiters actually search? and searching for jobs for you. So what do recruiters actually look for? They're generally looking for a match of job titles, as I mentioned. And those appear in your headline, your open to work section, your about section, and your employment section, both the present and both your most recent job and the prior ones that you've had, your prior titles. Okay. The next thing that they look at is keywords and skills. Okay, have we given you some sources to try and find some keywords? Or take a look at those job postings that you're looking for and take a look at the requirements that they have. Those are some of the skills and keywords that they're looking for. Those should be appearing in your profile as well. And took a look at industries and specific companies. Some certain industries or certain recruiters, certain industries are looking for people like themselves. Healthcare is notorious for looking for people with healthcare experience. Although we all know that there are probably some good people that are qualified, can do an excellent job in healthcare. They may be looking for specific companies. When I would work for Siebel Corporation, one of our target companies that I was told to find was to go after Oracle people. And I did it to such an extent that there came a letter from the Oracle attorneys to the Siebel attorneys, cease and desist. I got a cease and desist with a slight tap on my wrist and an attaboy on the back. Okay. Education and geographic locations are important. There are people I know I interviewed for a job here in Dallas where they were looking for an MBA from a top 10 business school in the United States. Well, I went to the University of California at Berkeley, and depending upon whose list you look at, it's one of those top 10 schools. And people look for geographic locations. Most times recruiters and most jobs, recruiters aren't going to look more than about 25 miles from their location. Why? Because you've told them that you don't want to travel more than 25 miles to work. So that's something that recruiters do. And recruiters prefer candidates who've done the job before. So they're looking for that keywords and key experiences. So what's next for recruiters? Well, they'll take a look at your current and prior companies and your length of service, and then take a look at your experience and summary. So what they're looking at, does it have the keywords that appear in the job posting? Again, that's something to think about. Your about section, is it a concise overview of your experience, expertise, and achievements? And does your experience simply focus on the duties and responsibilities that you've had, or does it show what you've actually accomplished performing those duties and responsibilities? Again, something to think about as you look at take a critical look at your profile, your activity and post. Do they reflect your expertise, knowledge, and experience? And have you done anything? Again, people have let their profile lag and may not touch it for a week or two at a time. Again, activity on LinkedIn is one of the criteria that's measured on that. Are you a serious job hunter? Then there's, how does the LinkedIn actual profile work? Okay, you receive a score for each section of your profile and for your activity. Your ranking in searches is based on the sum of these values. Higher scores appear at the top of the list. Results based on the qualifications being sought. That's pretty straightforward. This is an actual data entry screen from recruiter software license. Okay, there they can have, I think there's about 6 pages to that, but they can narrow it down. When this was done, there were only about 710 million people worldwide. And this person, I think this is from one of our speakers on LinkedIn, Kurt Vandemotter. He had this, and as I say, the recruiter license on LinkedIn is about $10,000 a year. So again, he can enter the criteria that he wants for job skills and location, companies, schools, and narrow about 700 million down to maybe 70 in less than 30 seconds. So what happens when a recruiter enters a search? Okay, this is one for a search for a product manager, and they were looking in the greater Seattle area. At the time, there were about 6,700 people or 6,900 people in the search results, and they have connections, people who are following the company. That's one of the things that you can do. And in that, that's important to take a look at. So those are, I was in this search, I was not identified. I was a secondary connection for these two people. Another search that you can take a look at, and this one is for a project manager in Chicago. And again, they were open to people from San Francisco or New York, but they were looking for business strategy and analytics as a project manager. Not specific. They were also considered education, and they had some specific companies that were targeting: Google, Facebook, Evernote, and LinkedIn. And Northwestern University is in Chicago. There were only 83 people had their open to work at the time this slide was actually captured. And again, 229 people were actually following the company. Okay. They're engaged in the brand. So how do you go about searching for jobs? On the next one, well, you have two options. One is the search bar that you see there with the arrow, or you can go over to the icon for the briefcase that says jobs. Okay, you can do that. Most of the times when you go to the jobs tab, it takes you back to the search, but you may come to a screen that looks like this, where you can enter the job title or the company title and location. In this screen, if you don't enter a company location and haven't done any searches recently, it's going to default to the United States. Something to be aware of. Well, let's actually take a look and search for some jobs. This was actually for a sales rep. The person forgot to enter a location, so it defaulted to the United States, and there were about 200,000 candidates. Most recruiters would say that search needs to be refined, or the recruiter doesn't know what they're really doing, which is possible. Okay, there are some really green recruiters out there. Another search result, again, the 25 miles that I've mentioned, most candidates have identified that they don't want to drive more than 25 miles to work. So recruiters and job boards have said, okay, we won't search further than that. So there's a limitation now. It's on LinkedIn as I think it's 10, 25, 50, and 100 as I looked yesterday that you can look at. When you do that, the other thing that you want to do is to put the distance down. If you're open to distance, perhaps living in Denton, north of Dallas and Fort Worth, which is more than 35 miles from downtown Dallas or downtown Fort Worth, you can open that up to 50 or 100 miles. Or if you're open to relocation. The job itself appears over on the right, the senior accountant for that. And I have, because I went to A&M for my undergrad, 5 A&M grads actually work at this particular company. The next search I did was, this was for a professional meeting with quality assurance people. Again, most of those people were higher level professional assurance, quality assurance people, and so quality control. But when I did a search for them, it came up that a lot of people were lower level quality inspector, quality technician jobs. And that had, I think there were almost 2,000 that. When did a refinement and said quality assurance manager, it eliminated the search, it eliminated about 80% of those. I can look at that, but that's what you can do. The other thing that you notice on there is the past week. But again, I mentioned Dallas, Fort Worth, identifying the area. There's Dallas, Georgia, and there's also Dallas, Oregon. Got to be careful because they will show up like that when you start to fill in the field. Again, one of the things that you can also do when you've opened that up, there is a jobs tab there. If you notice that little arrow next to it, there's one there down there that says groups. And I only mention that because there are jobs within groups that do not, yes, I repeat, do not appear on LinkedIn proper. The groups have the opportunity to list a job, and the target market is the people in the group. Most of those people in the group have backgrounds similar to the person listing the job. Recruiters are also been known to become members of groups. I know I did that when I was with Lee Harrison, trying to help people find jobs. We had a location in the Carolinas and South Carolina, and there were not a lot of jobs there, so we were looking in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I joined the Charlotte Business Roundtable, I think it was, is the name of the group there. So that's a way that you can find jobs, is looking in groups. And then you find that by going to the jobs tab there, going down and clicking on the groups session. And the groups as appears below, you see some of the job postings within the group, and you can actually join the group, etc. This is one for the filters that are in LinkedIn. Again, you cannot see this anymore. For some reason, LinkedIn has been refined by Microsoft in one of the updates and eliminated some. But most of those filters are available. I'm getting a list of them. Notice this was for a recruiter in Dallas County. One of the things I recommend that you do is, for the most part, update your search criteria so it's just the past week. The candidate I was interviewing yesterday could be the past month, okay? But past 24 hours. You want to take a look at jobs that fill quickly, you don't want to look at the past 24 hours. For the past week, you can do that. Again, something that LinkedIn picked up from Indeed.com and legislation that's been passed in California, New York, and Massachusetts, where salaries have to be posted with a job posting, included in a job posting. So they find that, and you can filter jobs by salary. Again, this is not the most accurate salary survey for jobs, but it gives you some idea what the value of the job is. You can also use, and I don't mention that, there's the Easy Apply button up here. Some jobs have that. That's okay if you want to if you want to use Easy Apply, but make sure that you can include a current resume that's tailored to the job posting. Otherwise, LinkedIn will use your current profile as your resume and apply that to the job posting. You notice that most jobs on most of the job boards are going to be full-time. There are those that are looking for contract positions, part-time and temp, or internship positions, and volunteer opportunities. Again, those types of jobs are listed. You can also look by location, by company, and add a company. You can add a company or an industry. But those are some different ways that you can filter on LinkedIn for jobs when you get them. One of the additional things that LinkedIn allows you to do when you do a job search is a job button that has a job alert. And you can switch that radio button. You can hold your cursor on it, switch it from right to left. If you turn it on, it gives you the option to get postings, any new job postings that match your criteria will be supplied to you daily or weekly. Those usually come in about 7 to 8 in the morning. I still get postings on a number of criteria because I help people how they use LinkedIn, and we'll do a search and find out that way. Okay. And again, then you can see what the results are down at the bottom with the search criteria open. Let's move ahead and do kind of a summary and stop things at this moment. Then we're going to take a look at you. I want to complete all the sections of your profile and increase your ranking in searches. And use the name that you normally use. My legal name is John Locke Alderson Jr., but I go by my middle name, so that's what I use on my profile. If your name is a little bit unusual or hard to spell or pronounce, you may include the pronunciation in parentheses. It's very important now to refresh your resume or your profile at least once a week. Your headline should list the job title or titles that you're looking for. And again, if you don't put a title in the headline, it's going to default to the title of your last job in the employment section. Open to work, again, below your headline, allows you to list 5 titles and lets recruiters know you're open to opportunities, but also lets them know if you're open to relocation. List your phone number and email on the first line of your profile if you haven't listed it in your banner shot behind your headshot, okay, or if you haven't opened up all your security settings. And in your experience section, list your titles, your duties, and measurable results. What were the results of performing those duties that you did? Do you use the keywords and skills from your profession? Okay, and choose the top 2 or 3 skills that you want. And then do a people search about who you are in your geographic area. See if you show up. And if you don't in the first 10 screens, again, pop open some of those other people and take a look at what they're saying about themselves. If it applies to you, be sure and adopt it for yours. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over and we're going to go and look at people else.
Well, what would you like to do? Look at people's profiles or look for a job?
Either one. We can do either one.
Okay. If you want us to look at your profile, put your name in the chat, or if you want to look for a job at a certain company, put that in the chat.
Okay, I'm going to have to share again, Jeff. I apparently lost it. Let me see if I can bring it back up.
Should be able to just click on the Chrome button right there. There we go. Anybody want us to look? Okay, look at the profile, Amber Clark.
Okay.
Okay, I just have to pull it up 1 second.
Jeff, it's not letting me share. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, you're sharing. We see it.
You see my profile?
Yes.
Well, I don't see it, so okay. There we go. Okay, that's actually my profile that it is now. I mentioned that. And people have asked me yesterday about this check to verify. And that's something that you occasionally will get a question to ask for some information to verify who you are. You may or may not want to do it and share that privacy. It's not a mandatory thing. For some reason, mine got shared, and I'm open to work. Okay. So what are we looking for now is
Amber Clark.
I'm ready.
Oops.
Amber?
Yes.
She's sharing her screen, so we're looking at her screen right now.
Okay, I'm not seeing that, but that's all right.
I feel like it was there a minute ago. I don't see it now, though.
Okay, well, I'm going to go, Amber, and look you up. So
I don't know. Is my I don't know what
Amber,
you
we're
guys
gonna
can
let
see.
We're gonna let Locke show his screen, okay?
Okay,
Is that you, Amber Clark?
that's me.
Okay. Again, one of the things I want to do, because we're second degree connections, and I mentioned that, is taking a look at your contact information. And she has not opened up her security settings to do that. She does not have her contact information. You can add it to this, Amber, in your banner shot behind you. You can add your phone number and email there. Well, let's
Okay.
scroll down a little bit and look at your about section and see if it's there. Again, notice that there are 3 lines that typically show up when somebody looks at your about section. So I have to scroll down. You don't have your contact information there. So it should be on that first line. Let's connect. And your phone number and your email, or just your email. If you want people, some people don't want to have their email address on there. I mean, their phone number on there, they don't want that. So you may want to get a Google phone number. That's a way to do that.
Okay.
Okay. I've got to shrink this screen down. There we go. Your about section. The other thing I like to look at people is to, okay. Not allowing me to do that. So it's being persnickety today. I've gotten a new computer and I haven't fully learned how to use it. Okay. School principal, and the question full-time, you have not put dates there, which is okay, which is something I recommended to somebody yesterday, was to take some dates off of her profile. You can put annual dates. Okay, but this shows that you were there and your employment. I don't know whether you're still with the school district or not, but you have a current position, which is one of the things LinkedIn looks for. Well, actually, you do not have a current position. It says through April 2025.
Right.
Well, the listing above it has it as, it's still active, I think.
Okay.
Oh, maybe not. You're right. You're right.
I'm just looking at it from a recruiter's perspective, and recruiters are pretty, I won't say detail oriented, but they tend to focus on things. If things don't match or line up, they ask questions or red flags.
Mhm.
So you've got a good background there. One of the things that you want to do, your education is there, your license and certifications, which is great. What I'm looking at is your volunteer experience. Okay. Those would not be the skill sets that I would mention. If you're looking for distance learning like Western Governors University or some of those kind of situation, that's fine.
Mm.
But one
Okay.
of the things that you want to do, okay, look at your list of criteria for your skills. What are your top 2 marketable skills? That's what you want to look for. And then go to your LinkedIn profile, click on the pencil that's going to be up here on the right of your screen.
Okay.
Of that box, and then click it, and there will be 3 dots when you open that up, and then click the 3 dots, and then you can reorder by holding your cursor over on the 4 lines on the right side of the screen. You can drag and
Okay.
drop the skills. But those that want distance learning, interdisciplinary collaboration, how is that
And I
going to
think, yeah, I think it just pulled that because those were in my certification section. So like you said, I think it
be?
defaulted to that.
Nothing wrong with those.
Yeah.
Those are typically not the ones that people want to know about. For a teacher,
Right.
interdisciplinary collaboration. I want to know what skill. I mean, for a teacher, I'm going to know what subject areas they've taught in. Have they taught K through 6? Have they taught 7 through 9? 10 through 12? Are they taught in the junior college level, college level? Those are the questions that people ask. Management skills. How big a school were you responsible for? How many teachers
Okay.
were there? Did you have other things that you were on district-wide committees, perhaps? Okay. So those are just some quick tips that I can see on your particular skills area. Go in and play around. I mentioned to you again, refresh your profile at least once a week. One of the ways that you could do that is to shift your skills around. Okay. Let's take a look
Okay.
at somebody else, Jeff, unless you had some specific questions.
Okay, yeah,
Thank
let's
you.
look at Carrie, Carrie. Oh, Carrie with a C, not T. Oops,
CA.
your computer's going all over the place.
Yeah.
Terry, T-E,
I'm sorry. Spell again, Jeff.
Carrie, I'm sorry, Carrie. last name Tesla, Testa, Testa,
Just
Testa with a T.
TES?
take a test like you did in school and add an A at the end.
That it?
Yep.
Well, let's see what we get. There you are. I'm going to take a look at your full. I'm going to do something Jeff tells me I'm not supposed to do. I'm just going to go ahead and when you do that and you ask somebody to connect, be sure and add a note. You attended somebody's profile. I'm going to look at your profile now. We are second degree connection, so we're probably not going to show, you're probably not going to have your contact information available, and it's not available in your background shot. Okay, so I want to look at that. Is it available in your about section? Again, if you're asking for people to contact you, you want them to do that. Well, you've used about 400 characters. You have about 200 characters. I would break that up into at least 2 paragraphs. So if there's a space between, makes it easier to read. If you have some highlights that you've done in different areas, in law enforcement, or if you've other things passionate about making meaningful contributions to organizational success, what kind of roles have you had? Has it been an organizational development manager? Has it been in personnel or HR? What are the titles that you've actually looked for? Service rep, customer
service is all I've
care.
ever done.
Yeah.
Customer service is all I've ever done.
Okay, nothing wrong with that as well. When you look for customer service rep, I'll give you this question. When you look for jobs, do all of the jobs that pop up on the list have customer service rep as the title of the job?
Close to it.
Okay, it's unusual because in many cases that you could do that. In your headline that you have, you don't even mention customer service representative at all.
Right. I used to, but I changed it.
Well, you need to. The more times that you mention customer service representative, the greater the likelihood that word population or word saturation is going to apply when people look at your profile. Okay, just something to look at. And I'm going to look now. I'm going to look down at your skills, critical thinking and English. Okay, nothing wrong with either one of those, but you have a total of 24 skills. Are those your 2 most popular skills that you front office operations, if that's what you're looking for, is one that I would think about. Customer relations, customer service representative. Okay, those are the ones that are more marketable skills as a customer service representative. Customer support, perhaps.
Got a lot of those.
So I would choose 2 more typically of customer relations. When you look for your jobs as a customer service rep, what are the things that they look for? Look down at the requirements and just look at those requirements and see what those are. Those should probably be the skill set that you mentioned first.
Right.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with critical thinking. It's required a good customer service rep. I would hope that I have a good customer service rep that knows how to do critical thinking. Okay. But that's not the key when somebody does a search. They don't search. That's not a term I've ever searched for.
Okay.
English is a language. Again, if you're working in another country, perhaps that may be important. English is a language. Working for Singapore Airlines might be that you speak the language from Singapore, and I can't remember. It's
Well, that's also English.
Yeah. Okay. English tends to be the language of professions around the world. But again, that's a given. It's like somebody has experience with Microsoft Office or Microsoft Outlook. Again, that's a given in today's economy in most jobs. Okay. Well, hopefully that helps a little bit, Carrie and Jeff. Let's try looking at somebody else or looking for a job.
I think I'm gonna go. Let's wrap up here.
Okay.
If
Well,
you
before you do that, again, anybody who is interested in the slide deck, lockealderson@gmail.com. And Scott's comment down there at the bottom is correct. English is nowadays rare. In rare companies, they may not speak English too well. What Scott, I think, is referring to, because a lot of the customer service jobs can be overseas. But lockealderson@gmail.com, I'll be happy to send you the slide deck because there's a lot of information that I covered pretty quickly. And there are some examples for you.
Okay, Locke, thank you. Next week, our speaker is going to be Kurt Vandermatter. He's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. He's a retained search consultant, so he gets hired by companies to find you. And how does he find you? He'll talk about that next week. The practice interview team on Wednesday is meeting in person at Christ United Methodist Church in Plano, 3101 Coit and Parker. Coit and Parker in Plano. From 1 to 3 o'clock. Come join us in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesday. They're online on the fourth Wednesday only for anybody else to be able to jump in and watch. The North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meets at the same place. They will be having an open forum this Friday. You've got questions about your job search. We'll talk about whatever it is you'd like to talk about. So come join us for that, either in person or on Zoom. You're welcome to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups. There's over 16,200 members of the Career DFW group. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join that group, but I will look at your profile. If your profile is not mostly complete, I'll deny you, because my question is, why are you on LinkedIn if your profile is not mostly complete? Because you want people to find you when they're looking for somebody. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel later this afternoon. Please subscribe to the channel. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. Every video I post goes into one of 7 different playlists. If you click on the one for LinkedIn, it says view full playlist at the very bottom. Up will come a list of the dates in chronological order and speakers, and you can go back and watch any of those videos at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, join the Career USA mailing list. You can just scan this QR code or send a blank email to Career USA, the +subscribe at groups.io. You won't be spammed because I control the list and only I control the list. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Locke is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 17 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today. Locke, thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Jeff, for having me.
Hopefully we'll see everybody later in the week.